I shot this entire commercial with one light, one camera, one lens, and a couple of niche accessories. So today we're gonna go through the pre-production, the actual shoot itself, some of the things that went really, really well, and lastly, some of the things that didn't go so well. So let's get into it.
You've probably found yourself in this exact situation before. You can't decide where to eat, and everywhere you think of just doesn't sound good. Well, come by to Tacos for Life for our 2 can dine for $25.99 off. You'll get yourself 4 tacos, 2 drinks, 2 sides, a small queso, and an order of sopapillas, all for $25.99. The best part, when you purchase this combo, 4 meals are provided for the children in need. You really just can't go wrong. Stop by today for great food at a great price for a great cause. 2 can dine for just $25.99.
Now, when it comes to the pre-production, it was actually a pretty last-minute shoot, but I had an idea of an image that I wanted to create from the beginning. And that centered kind of around this style of Emmanuel Lubetsky, where it's a super wide angle, but it's also super close in to the lens. Now, all the client really needed was a 30-second ad to promote a discount that they were offering for the next couple months. So I created a pitch that kind of gave them an idea of the look and feel and just rough scope of the video. I sent it over to them and they approved it. Next, I created a short script, and in that script, I clarified like, this is what's gonna be being spoken through a voiceover, and this is what's gonna be being showed on screen, and they approved that as well. So at this point, me and the client are both on the same page for what we want this shoot to be. Now, I gotta say, I think that this step is overlooked in a lot of ways. Whether you're new to filmmaking or you're just on a time crunch or anything in between, like pre-production can be very easily overlooked or just not as highly valued as it should be. I am guilty of this as well. But I think it's important to make sure that you and the client and any collaborators that you might be working with are on the same page before you go into the shoot. That way, everything just goes a lot smoother, expectations are clear, and there's no hiccups. But now for the fun part, onto the gear that we're gonna need for this shoot. Now, that gear started with the Fuji X-H2S, partially because it's the camera that I own, but also because the client actually wanted 9x16 as well as 16x9. So I needed that camera so that I could shoot in the 6.2K open gate recording option. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a 3:2 aspect ratio where you use the entire sensor of the camera. So it gives you a little bit more up top for when I need to crop in and get that vertical look. It's just much easier. Next, because of the wide angle look I was going for, I enlisted the help of the 7 Artisans 12mm T2.9 Cine lens that my friend Joshua let me borrow. Now, this lens is an 18mm equivalent on my camera, so it's gonna give me a super wide look. But on top of that, it has a super close focus distance, which means I can bring the lens super close to whatever I'm shooting and it'll be in focus, which is super handy given the look that I'm trying to achieve. However, I did want to be able to get even closer and just kind of think outside the box a little bit. So I went on Amazon and I ordered these super cheap diopters that I saw on a Danny Gevirtz video. Shout out Danny. And no, these are not the most high quality diopters you've ever seen. They actually create a pretty weird look, but that's kind of what I was going for. I wanted something that was going to grab the attention of the viewer, and I think this achieved that. But lastly, we have my simple lighting and grip kit. Now on the grip side, this includes 4 C-stands, 1 rolling combo stand, a boom pole, a couple flags, and this Pelican case of just a bunch of grip trinkets that I take everywhere with me. Now when it comes to the lighting side, I'm bringing the Amaran 200D, the Amaran 200X, 2 Amaran 60Xs, Fresnel, and the Amaran T2C, which you know by now, I used one of those lights. But I brought them all with me because 4 out of the 5 fit in one case, which is pretty handy. But when it comes to camera support, I'm keeping this stupid simple. I literally brought one Amazon cheap tripod, sue me, I know, and this little Ulanzi mini tripod. I knew I needed the Ulanzi tripod to put my camera really close to the food, as well as the shot of the couple in their car. But I wanna clarify, none of this gear is top of the line. There is so much better gear out there, but I think it's important to remember that you don't always need the most expensive gear to achieve the goal that you're going for. Sure, more expensive gear would have made this video a higher quality video, but with the budget I was given, I didn't really have any money to rent better gear, so I just used what I already own, and I think it worked out pretty well. Now, I'm gonna go into some of the successes and failures, and throughout this, we're gonna talk about the shoot itself. But the first success and the most important success of this video is that the client was pleased. And that's honestly what I'm going for 100% of the time. Like, all of my artistic hopes and dreams aside, if the client's pleased, that's a win. The second thing that I would say was a success on this shoot is actually just the fact that what I set out to accomplish and the story I set out to tell is the story that came out on screen. And I know this may sound super basic, but I can't tell you how many times I've set out to create one type of video, and through issues that we ran into on set or just different things happening, I wasn't able to actually create that video. Now, this top-down setup that I had, while not the best top-down setup, was pretty solid for what I needed to do. It was small enough where I could bring it wherever I needed to in the restaurant, but it was sturdy enough to where I could put my camera on the end of it and get all the top-down shots that I needed. It's basically made of a C-stand with a boom arm on top and then a couple clamps that bring a grip arm between. So you can kind of create this like triangle of support. And then I put a tripod head at the end of the boom arm. I will say, could have done better on safety for this. It was semi-safe. I'd give it a 7. Anyways, in addition to the top-down, another little bit of gear that I really enjoyed using was having my Amaran T2C battery powered and actually rolling around on my little rolling light stand. I love this because I could just bring it in wherever I needed to if I just need a little edge light or just a little more level on some food or something. But lastly, something that is just as much a success as it is a failure is actually the lack of the amount of lights that we actually used. You see, the time of day that we shot was a win because the sun was coming in perfectly, so it gave us a ton of natural light and cool sunlight shafts to play with. But there are a lot of shots that I think could use a lot more polish in this shoot. That polish could have come from having more people on set so that I could actually light these scenes. This shot in particular, this top down of the money exchanging hands, could be a lot better. I'm not even really happy with how it came out, but I didn't have anyone else with me. So something I'm gonna do on my next shoot is actually bring on even just one person to have an extra set of hands on set. Another thing I would have changed about this shoot is actually just the lack of shots that I got. You see, I filmed exactly the essential amount of shots that I needed to tell the story I wanted to tell, which in theory is a good thing. I kind of wish I had had more options in editing, especially because the client needed a couple of like short social cuts, but really what I was able to provide them with were kind of excerpts of the final video. Now, honestly, there's probably a lot more that I could improve about this shoot, but I hope this process was helpful to you. Honestly, when I share my work, I don't want to just share like all the amazing things that I did well and how perfect the shoot went. I want to be honest with you and tell you where I think I need to improve and some areas that I failed in so that you can learn from my failures and where I fell short. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Till next time, let's get out there and make better films.